Dalton Kincaid is finally looking like the player that we saw at Utah. We'll discuss his dynasty value and more next.
You are Locked On Dynasty Football, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Welcome back. I am your host, Marcus Mosher. Joining me today, as always, is Michael Fabiano. And on today's show, we're going to tell you the players that we are starting and sitting in our fantasy lineups for week 3. We're going to talk about the Miami backfield. But Fabs, let's start with the Buffalo Bills. They got a 10-point win over the Dolphins on Thursday night. Closer game than I think a lot of people expected. But I want to start with Dalton Kincaid, who led the team in receiving yards with 66. He also got into the end zone. I'm cautiously optimistic about Kincaid moving forward. He's starting to seem like the player that we saw at Utah several years ago.
Yeah, no doubt about that. He was among my breakout tight ends for this season, and that was like a begrudgingly sort of prediction. I'm like, I know he can do it. I just don't know if he will. And yeah, the 6 targets, 5 catches, 66 yards at a touchdown, almost 18 fantasy points. Huge. And what I wish I would see a little bit more of is that the snap share would sort of separate from Dawson Knox, which it hasn't. So I wonder if that will hurt his consistency. But right now, Dalton Kincaid, I know it's only 3 weeks. Dalton Kincaid is on pace for 227 fantasy points, which would be 77 more points than his career high. And if he scored that many points last year, he would have been the tight end 4 ahead of Jonnu Smith. So it's been a very good start for Dalton Kincaid. Again, coming out of Utah, you said it. Pass catching guy. We all loved him. We've been waiting. Maybe this is the season. Obviously, I don't know that he's become a true must start at tight end, depending on what you have on your roster, but he's pretty darn close right now.
Yeah, I mean, I like him. I don't love him still because you and I were talking about this pre-show. Like, they use a lot of tight ends, and now they've got this tight end, Jackson Haas, who they drafted from Georgia Tech. Who had 16 career catches at Georgia Tech, by the way. And he's out here just dominating as a blocker. He's actually Pro Football Focus's #1 tight end through 3 weeks. So they're going to use a bunch of tight ends, but I like how they're using Kincaid. Like, they're finally allowing him to make plays down the field. I think the first couple of years, it was a lot of underneath stuff, and we want you to be this yak guy. And I think his best value is when you're having him go down the field to make plays, and that's how he scored his touchdown. I want to see it continue for at least a little bit longer, but 2 of the 3 games have been very strong so far.
Very strong, and he could end up being one of the better bargains. When you look at what he's not done over the last couple of seasons, and people may be a little bit down on him. Now you're looking at a player who's still right in the prime of his career, still relatively a young guy when it comes to NFL tight ends, and this could end up being a gem for you. Whether you've been waiting for him to do this, maybe you drafted him as a rookie, or maybe you just had a startup and you ended up picking him, you're probably pleasantly surprised right now. Let's hope that this kind of usage continues. The downside is, and I don't think it's a huge downside, but if Kincaid continues to get 5, 6, 7 targets per game, boy, it's going to be really hard to figure out which Bills wide receiver you could start on a weekly basis, because that thing is an absolute enigma right now.
Yeah, and we'll get to the receivers, but I should mention Khalil Shakir, 4 catches for 45 yards and a touchdown. He's still working his way back from a high ankle injury, so I wonder what it's going to look like here in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, once he gets a little healthier. But someone like Keon Coleman, who had a huge week 1 game against Baltimore, 3 catches for 20 yards on 4 targets.
Nothing.
And it's been kind of the last 2 weeks that way.
That's why you can't trust any Bills receivers. Coleman may have the highest ceiling, but I think Khalil has the best floor and is probably the player that you want. I mean, even Elijah Moore, he only played 14 snaps last night.
I know.
But he had 3 targets. He also had a carry for 11 yards. He had 6.1 points. He had more points than Coleman. And so, we didn't even mention Josh Palmer. I mean, so,
No.
they have like all these guys who are kind of like, borderline good players. And there's not that alpha guy. Like we kind of maybe hope that Coleman would take that mantle and run with it this season. But after 3 games, it doesn't look like it. So the Bills pass attack could be very confusing. And maybe Dalton Kincaid is the most consistent out of that group.
Yeah, 10 players had a reception on Thursday night for the Bills. Only Kincaid got more than 4 targets. So this is a very hard offense to figure out. Really quickly on Kincaid, he's being drafted, or at least was being drafted going into the month of September as tight end 11. A couple names ahead. Mark Andrews, who has, I believe, 7 yards through 2 games. Njoku, who's tight end 9, but might not be even tight end 1 on his own team. Then the guys ahead of him, Tucker Kraft, TJ Hawkinson, Colston Loveland. Where do you slot Dalton Kincaid in among those guys?
I mean, certainly ahead of the first 2 names you mentioned. And maybe it's a little hindsight, but why would you draft Mark Andrews at, 30 years old ahead of Dalton Kincaid in a dynasty startup? That doesn't make any sense to me. David Njoku, I believe, is 29. And when you bring in a Harold Fannin, that is maybe cause for concern. And Njoku is in a contract year, so maybe he's not back in Cleveland. So we don't know what his future situation is. I would have drafted Kincaid ahead of those guys, without question. Yeah, Colston Loveland. I mean, it's 2 games. I'm not going to get nuts with him. I'm not going to move Kincaid ahead of him. But Kincaid certainly deserves to be in the top 8 or 9 at tight end right now.
Let's talk about James Cook really quickly before we move on. He had another big game, 19 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown. Also caught 3 passes in the air. He's already over 350 total yards from scrimmage through 3 games. We were worried about the touchdown regression this year. He's already scored 4 touchdowns through 3 games. He's gotten in the end zone every single game.
Yeah. I guess maybe we shouldn't have been that worried. I mean, historically speaking, I don't know if he's going to score that many touchdowns again, but every time he touches the ball, like he looks like he's got a little rocket on his back, right? I mean, like the ball getting put into his gut accelerates that, and boom, I sound like John Madden. I love it, but this guy is just so explosive, and he's in a great situation. And we're talking about a guy who, last night had 22 touches in the game. Like, Ty Johnson last night at least was second, but I mean, it was a distant second, and Ray Davis barely even saw any work at all. So James Cook, again, I don't know if he's scoring 19 touchdowns, but hell, right now he's on pace to get close.
He's on pace to get to 20 touchdowns and 2,000 total yards. I mean, he's probably not going to do that, right? But this is what we were saying all summer. Like, okay, even if the touchdown regression hits, he's just going to get so many touches on such a good offense. I don't know how he wasn't being valued as even a low-end RB1.
He was from us. That's why you listen to this podcast right there.
But you know what? He's still not being valued right now on Dynasty League Football. RB16, and let me read you some of the names ahead of him. Kenneth Walker, Josh Jacobs, Chase Brown, Breece Hall, Christian McCaffrey, Kyron Williams. Like, all of these guys are being drafted ahead of James Cook, and I don't get it, because every time I watch James Cook, it's like, okay, he might not be Bijan, he might not be Jahmyr Gibbs, but he's not far behind.
I mean, he was falling behind those guys, and then Chase Brown, too, is another guy who was getting drafted. And listen, I like Chase Brown, but James Cook is like, and he surprised me, because coming out of college, I didn't think he could be this kind of back in the NFL, because he had never carried the mail at Georgia. He was never like this big, like his brother was like at Florida State, this featured type of dude. And now in Buffalo, it's just been a really good fit. It's been a great fit in that offense. And, obviously behind Josh Allen, there isn't a better fantasy player in Buffalo than James Cook.
No, and he is a perfect fit with Joe Brady and Josh Allen because of all the stuff he can do in the passing game, because of the wide zone stuff. Really, really good player who should be valued as a RB1 going forward in your dynasty leagues. Fabs, let's talk about the Miami side of things, because actually this was a fairly decent day for the offense. They moved the ball up and down the field. But we'll give you our biggest dynasty takeaways next. This episode is brought to you by DoorDash. It's almost the weekend. It's time to look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered the most. So let's break it down. And of course, we're going to talk about James Cook of the Buffalo Bills. He was fantastic. He scored that touchdown early in the game. He was moving the ball up and down the field. James Cook is a clear-cut RB1 in your dynasty leagues, and you should be drafting him that way and acquiring him. James Cook is on a streak, and just like James Cook delivered for the Bills, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays. With DoorDash Streaks, you can save on every Saturday order, stack it up all season long, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday and keep that streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure that you are ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet, whether that's player props, building a same-game parlay, or even jumping in as the action is unfolding. Like, I love parlays. That's my favorite thing. I like to throw together a couple moneyline parlays on a Sunday morning right before the games kick off. It just adds a little bit more energy and juice to my Sundays and makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your favorite team play or maybe you're just checking in on your dynasty lineups. It's quick, it's easy, and so much fun to play. So are you ready? Download the FanDuel app now by using FanDuel.com to get started. That is FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. Fabs, let's talk about the Dolphins side of things, because actually I thought the offense looked pretty good for the most part. Now, they didn't put up huge numbers, but they did move the ball up and down the field on Buffalo. Let's start with the running backs. Devon Achane, 12 carries for 62 yards, didn't get in the end zone, but he did catch 7 passes for 29 yards. But you actually want to talk about the other Miami running back.
When I saw Ollie Gordon get that goal line opportunity, do you remember in Revenge of the Sith, Star Wars? We're going real dorky here. And Darth Vader finds out that Padme's dead, and he goes, no! That was me last night when Ollie Gordon got that goal line. I'm like, what? No, give it to Achane. What the heck's going on, man? Like, Achane had scored in every game against Buffalo in his career before last night. And if you throw that 6 on top of his 16.1, you're looking at a nice 22-point game. He still had 16 in PPR, so you're good. But I don't like that Gordon got 3 red zone looks and Achane got 2. Now, Achane still, he dominated the snaps, 47-15. But Gordon had 9 carries. No. Like, stop. What are we doing here? No, let's not mess around. We got a good thing going on with Achane. So I was a little bit like perturbed about that. And Ollie Gordon's a good back. And I don't know if and he wears 31. So the first thing you think of is like when Raheem Mostert and Achane were like that duo a couple of years ago. I don't want to go back to that. I want Achane to get.
That was fun. Those guys were both startable running backs, though, every week. That was fun.
Mostert had 21 touchdowns, like out of nowhere. It was the most unpredictable 21 touchdowns in the history of football. And I mean, listen, I guess on a positive note, if Achane's not getting as many touches, he's also maybe not in situations where he could get hurt, because that's the one thing we're worried about with him is like durability, because he's like not a big dude. But then when you start taking goal line opportunities away, you start taking his ceiling down a little bit. So I don't know if this is just a 1 week thing, a short week. I don't know. I'm trying to make things up now. I'm not sure what it was, but I'm definitely going to be looking at Ollie Gordon's usage moving forward. And if you cut him after the first couple of weeks, if you have Achane, or maybe you just cut him because you wanted to pick up another hot free agent, might be a good idea to try to grab him back up heading into week 4, just in case.
It's interesting because I thought Achane looked really good. Like, if you're just ignoring the box score a little bit, I thought Achane looked awesome in this game. And the Dolphins ask him to do so much because a lot of these touches that he's getting are like way behind the line of scrimmage. And he's having to do so much just to kind of get some positive yards. I thought he looked really good. And that's the one saving grace here. But it feels like they've kind of chiseled out a role for Ollie Gordon. Like, this Miami team really struggles in the red zone. So let's get our bigger back in here who doesn't need a big hole, and that's going to be his role. I I just wouldn't be concerned of him an HN owner because you're getting 9 targets every game right now. Like, you're going to be fine.
Do you think that Jalen Wright should be dumped in Dynasty at this point because Gordon looks like the 2? Huh? Jalen Wright.
Exactly. Who?
Yeah.
I mean,
I thought I said his name wrong or something. I'm like, what? Am I dumb here?
No, I just.
So
I
in Dynasty,
I just cut him.
Bye-bye.
I actually just cut him from a Dynasty roster 2 days ago. Like, it's not happening, right? Like, I wasn't a big Jalen Wright fan coming out of Tennessee. Ollie Gordon has clearly passed him on the depth chart. I mean, maybe if something were to happen to Achane, he kind of fills that role, but I don't see that happening. I feel really good about Achane. Like, I know this offense is one that we can pick apart, but he's the one saving grace. Like, he's been really good for the last 3 years now.
Yeah, no, he's been, I mean, remember when he came out of school and I mean, he just was phenomenal right out of the gate. He was averaging well over 20 points per game. So yeah, the Dolphins offense has got a lot of question marks. Achane is not one of them.
No.
Tua last night, I mean, whether it was him with the interception or, you know, the defensive lineman with the roughing call on the punter.
Yep.
Those things cost the Dolphins in that game. But I feel like even though, you know, like Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle had good fantasy games, Jalen Waddle had 39 yards. Tyreek Hill had 49 yards. Neither one of these guys, I don't know that we're ever getting back to like 2023 where these guys are both like startable every week. I'm not taking them out of my lineup. I don't know if that's going to happen anymore.
I think Waddle's certainly a guy you're playing based on the matchup, right? The Tyreek Hill thing is just, it's tough to talk about because he's clearly not the same player that he was 2 years ago. Like, there was even a deep ball where he kind of alligator armed it a little bit. He looks incredibly fast, but there's something a little off here. The Dolphins are 0-3. It seems like he would be a perfect trade candidate, but there's some off-field stuff going on in typical Tyreek fashion. And I don't know how to value Tyreek Hill at all going forward.
And the broadcast team mentioned it too.
Yeah.
They mentioned it. Like, that's the thing that scares me. Like, we've talked about it. I don't have Tyreek in Dynasty. Thank goodness. But I do have one share of him in a redraft. And I want to get rid of him. And I want to get rid of him more in Dynasty. The problem is nobody wants him. Nobody wants Tyreek Hill because declining returns, as you mentioned, not the same player he was 2 years ago. And NFL suspension could be coming.
Looming. Yeah.
Because of what's going on off the field. So, yeah, if I can rid myself of Tyreek, I'm doing it, man. Like, I mean, listen, I'm not giving him up for nothing. But if we get into the next few weeks and you see,
do you think he gets traded? Do you think he gets traded at some point this year?
But Marcus, who wants that headache? Like, that's the thing. I know you think Kansas City.
Well, I think there's going to
be back and Xavier Worthy. I don't know if they want him. Who wants that headache though? That's the problem.
I think I generally agree with you, but there's always going to be a desperate team to add a playmaker, right? And what we've seen across the last decade, right? Teams are going to give up picks for guys that they think can help them, whether they're guys that aren't proven, like Jonathan Mingo. Or I remember when the Patriots traded for Muhammad. Remember when the Patriots traded a second-round pick for Mohamed Sanu because their wide receiver core in a peak Tom Brady season was just not good enough? Like, I do think he gets traded, and maybe that's the time if you have Tyreek Hill to cash in. But as we stand right now, he gave you a good start this week, but everything just feels so up in the air right now.
Yep. Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he had a bad game in week 1. He was good in week 2. He was good last night. You may want to try and trade him. I am concerned about where this whole off-field thing is going to go. And listen, it's all allegations right now, but this ain't the first time.
No, and that's
Tyreek Hill. That's what I'm saying. That's why, you never want to make somebody guilty, before they're proven so. But Tyreek has got a resume of this kind of stuff, and it's a bit scary.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about some players that we are starting and sitting in our dynasty lineups here in week 3. We will get to that next. This episode is brought to you by Square, your favorite neighborhood spots run on Square. There are certainly businesses that truly make the neighborhood feel like home, whether that's the local sports bar that's packed on game days, or that coffee shop that knows your order by heart, or the corner deli that's been serving your community for decades. These are the places that bring people together. When neighborhood businesses thrive, the whole neighborhood thrives. I know for me, there's a little coffee shop just like a mile from my house. I get the same order every single day. They run their business on Square, and it just feels like home. It's like an extension of my home, and that's what the community in your neighborhood is all about. And when these spots use Square, it makes your neighborhood feel like home. And so many of them use Square to help run their businesses. Square is a proud partner of more than 4 million neighborhood businesses around the world. And you can go to square.com/go/LockedOnNFL to learn more. But before you do, go support your favorite neighborhood spot. Maybe it is that little diner that's right on the corner, or maybe it's that golf shop that needs your support. You'll be happy that you did. Square, see you in the neighborhood. Welcome back to the Locked On Dynasty Football Podcast. We'd like to thank you for making us your first listen of the day. For your second listen, check out the Locked On NFL Podcast. They have 2 shows every single day. One in the morning with Tyler Rowland, one in the afternoon with Tony Wiggins. Find Locked On NFL on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Fab, let's run through some players that we are starting and sitting here in week 3. Let's start with quarterbacks. Who do you got?
I'm going with Drake May again. I liked him last week. Told you to start him. He had a very good game against Miami. He's got Pittsburgh this week. And you think, well, wait a minute, Fabs, Pittsburgh's good. No, they're not. Not in the first 2 weeks. They've given up an average of 23 points per game to Justin Fields and Sam Darnold. So, I mean, like their defense has not been good. I mean, I'm just looking at the numbers. I know the names on the backs of the jerseys are really awesome, but they haven't really been good. So Drake May is a player that I would start at the quarterback position.
Well, real quick on Drake May.
Yeah.
This is to me, this is a big game to figure out whether Pittsburgh is like a free square all year long, right? Because I don't love this New England offense. We like Drake May. We like Travion Henderson. The receivers are very right now. The offensive line's an issue. But if they can have big success against Pittsburgh, again, who you mentioned, Justin Fields and Sam Darnold, then I think every quarterback that plays Pittsburgh the rest of the year is going to be a must start, whether that's like Carson Wentz in week 4 or whoever else is coming up on their schedule. Usually there's a defense or two that we can circle every year as like, hey, target this one. I mean, just remember in 2023, the Cowboys defense, we're going to talk about our Cowboys.
They were awesome. The same thing.
Yeah, they were absolutely awesome in 2023. And 2024, they were that free square. I know Pittsburgh has this long tradition of having awesome defenses, but they look very slow. We'll see if that's the case here in week 3.
Like I always say, the only thing predictable about the NFL is its unpredictability, and I would not have predicted that. A quarterback that I don't like this week is Trevor Lawrence, who I get it. He had a good game last week, 19 points. But Houston's defense is very good, and Lawrence has failed to score at least 15 fantasy points 6 times against them, and he scored fewer than 11 points in 3 of his last 6 starts, where he's played at least 58 snaps. So Trevor Lawrence is going to be a fade for me this week.
Division game, typically low scoring. I think both teams are going to want to try to run the football. So I'm total agreement there. What about at running back?
Love Jordan Mason, man. I mean, how can you not this week? Yeah. Aaron Jones is out. This is a great matchup. The Bengals have already allowed 3 different running backs to beat them for 15 or more points. And it's only week 2. Like they've only played 2 games. It's week 3 now. I told folks out there that Jordan Mason was a breakout type of running back. I don't know if he's a sleeper because we all know who he was. Aaron Jones is 30 years old, coming off of a very heavy workload, and he's already hurt. Jordan Mason, dare I say, is a must start this week.
Absolutely. I think there's a doubt. I think for the next 4 weeks, Jordan Mason is a must start. And I think if you're doing dynasty rankings or trying to decide, I'm going to probably break ties in favor of Jordan Mason just because he looks good. And I think this offense is going to get better now that they get Christian Darrisaw back, their left tackles. Things start to stabilize a little bit. So we love Jordan Mason. Who are you benching at running back?
I don't love Ja'Cory Krosky-Merritt this week. And people are, well, wait a minute. No Austin Eckler. He's going to get touches. Yeah, he is. You know who got touches against the Raiders last week? Omarion Hampton and Najee Harris. I didn't do anything. Here is a crazy stat, all right? Since week 12 of last year, Only one running back has scored more than 14.5 points against the Raiders. It's bananas. And I used that stat last week to defend sitting Omarion Hampton over at Sports Illustrated. And what happened? Omarion Hampton had his stinker. So, yeah, you may have to use him because you're hoping the volume increases, and it should. But I don't love Krosky Merritt this week.
I don't either. The Raiders have built their team to stop the run. Even their linebackers are like Jamal Adams, who just flies downhill, right? Landon Roberts is one of them. Like, they have these big linebackers that want to play downhill. They can get exposed in the passing game a little bit, and that's where, like, I think someone like Terry McLaurin could have a big day. But the problem is, if it's going to be Marcus Mariota at quarterback, what is that even going to look like? So I think for the most part, I'm breaking ties against the Washington players this week. Just feels like a very weird game. 10 days off, new quarterback likely. Marcus Mariota has not looked good really when he's played at all over the last 5 years. I'm worried.
No revenge game narrative there, huh?
No. He hardly played. He hardly played ever with the Raiders, so I'm good. What about receiver? Who you playing?
I like DK this week, and he's had a slow start to the season, and you know that I was on him. I liked him this season, and I still do. You know that Christian Gonzalez is banged up. He's got the hamstring. New England's defense has allowed 4 wide receivers to beat them for over 13 points already this season, and 3 of them have gone over 16 points. So I just think DK Metcalf is in a good spot to find success this week against New England.
A little bit of a down game last week. He scored a touchdown, but
that was it. Yeah. Yep. And then it's it. How do you play Travis Hunter right now? I mean, you know, Brian Thomas Jr., you can say the same thing, but I mean, you kind of got to, how do you play Travis Hunter right now? He's 3rd in snaps among wide receivers. He's only scored 14.5 combined fantasy points. The Texans this year have held Mike Evans, Devontae Adams, and Emeka Ibuka all under 13 points in the first 2 weeks. It's not a good matchup. And I'm legitimately worried about Travis Hunter for this season. I know the talent is ridiculous. The Jacksonville Jaguars coaches and coordinators utilize him in the best possible way. I'm not sure. We're going to find that out. I do not like this matchup against Houston. I do not see this being a high-scoring game.
Jacksonville has some cornerback injuries, which I wonder if we'll see more of Travis Hunter at corner. But honestly, I'm not too worried. Like, I think it's going to take him some time to get used to an NFL route tree. And it wasn't really the case at Colorado. I think he's going to be fine. But against Houston, a pass rush.
For this season, Marcus, for this season,
I'm not worried.
I was hoping I'd be able to just plug him in and not worry about it. I can't do that. I don't think I'll be able to.
Yeah, that hasn't been the case so far. I'm not worried for this season, but I do agree here in week 3, if you have better options, I would consider them. All right, that is it for today's show. We want to thank you for making Locked On Dynasty your first listen of the day. Make sure you check out the channel on YouTube. Download the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We are free and available on all platforms. Follow Fabs on Twitter at Michael_Fabiano. I'm at Marcus_Mosher. Enjoy week 3, and we'll see you on Monday to break it all down.